folks, welcome to Pop Pop Fizzle. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Heidi.
And we're here today to do a review, or really sort of a discussion about the first 3 episodes of Jessica Jones Season 2. We just finished the 3rd episode. We're not going to go through these individually because...
There's 13 of them.
There's 13 of them, and we're still kind of...
Sick.
So instead of doing them one by one, or filming our reactions, and having to edit all that footage, we decided to take it easy on ourselves as we're recovering from our post-Florida trip funk that we're in, whatever is going on with us, to just take it easy and enjoy Jessica Jones. And then every 3 episodes we'll stop and we'll sort of assess where we are after 3 episodes, and then we'll go from there. So we'll try to be... we're not going to talk about the episodes without there being spoilers involved. There's no way to really do that.
Not really, no. Sorry. So spoilers. If you haven't watched it.
Spoilers for the first 3 episodes.
If you haven't watched it, go watch it. It's on Netflix. Easy. But just go ahead and watch those before you watch our discussions, just so we can all be on the same page.
Yeah, and because we want to be able to talk about our thoughts freely without having to hem and haw around things and worry about who we're spoiling or who we're not spoiling, basically. Can't promise that we won't be coughing, although we have some cough drops and mints and things. We'll hopefully avoid that.
Hopefully.
But, so let's first talk about Jessica Jones Season 1. Obviously part of this big Netflix Marvel line of stories that they've done. It was really the second one to come out after Daredevil.
And I didn't know very much about Jessica Jones before I watched Season 1, and just a little bit based on what Jeff's seen in the comics. And, I didn't dislike the character. I was curious enough. So it was like, it was a really great show for somebody who's kind of uninitiated into comics, because it was a great show. You didn't really have to be involved in the comic book, scene
right, not
to
really
superhero
focused so much. The character of Jessica Jones in the comics, if you're not a comics reader, she's had kind of a long, varied history over the last, 20 years or so. Created in part by Brian Michael Bendis, who was a big Marvel writer there for, like I said, almost 20 years. She was a PI character, much as she is in the show. Her original book was just called Alias, and it was a very sort of mature book. And then that got rebooted as a Jessica Jones book, which was more all ages friendly. She eventually became part of the New Avengers team. I don't think she was an official member, but she was there because she, spoilers, ended up married to Luke Cage in the comics. They have a child together, and they were both part of the New Avengers together. So, her history in comics, very different than what we've seen so far
in the
first season of the show. But we both enjoyed the first season of the show. It was a very different take on superheroes. Very grounded.
Yeah.
Daredevil obviously is very focused in Hell's Kitchen. Luke Cage very focused in Harlem. And so all of these shows seem to kind of have their own vibe and their own feel. We really like the feel of Jessica Jones.
She's purple.
Yes. Because of, and of course we watched that first season and loved it too, because we are very familiar with David Tennant as from Doctor Who and many other things, Broadchurch and lots of other things that we've enjoyed. So we enjoyed that aspect of it as well.
Really interesting to see him as a villain. Actually, I really enjoyed his take on it.
Yeah, so that was a fun first season to kind of see all those dynamics develop, and we had heard some things about season 2, and we were both in. We're into all the Marvel Netflix shows anyway.
Yep.
So of course we were going to watch this. So
of course.
It launched several days ago. You were working.
I've been working. And
being the good husband that I am, I did not watch anything without her so that we could watch together and enjoy the show together and react together. So, now let's talk about the first 3 episodes.
Okay.
That first episode back, Season 2, Episode 1. I should probably, while you're talking about your thoughts, I'm going to pull up the list of episode titles.
Okay. So Episode 1, I felt like was really just a great introduction to what we're going to be seeing this season. We've got, some little antagonists happening at home with the Super. We've got some competition sort of happening with that Chang Price guy, Price Chang. Sorry, I got it mixed up because he was coming up at last name first.
To be fair, he does have two last names.
Yeah. So, well, anyway.
Sort of.
Anyway, so, just kind of setting up who we're going to see and what the main issues are going to be this season. We got Trish kind of digging Jessica's past out of the woodwork and, kind of seeing some interesting things going on with her investigations and just, that first scene, we both watched it. We're like, are we watching the first season by mistake? Because it kind of opened up the same way.
And I feel like that was...
on purpose.
Well, no, I feel like it was on purpose, but I also feel like it was a good way of showing us that nothing has changed. Jessica, the character, has gone through what we saw in her own show, but then she's also gone through what we've seen happen in Defenders. And so now we're catching up with her after these events. And it was kind of a nice, easy way of saying not much has changed for Jessica. Yep. She's stuck in this rut. She's stuck in this pattern of behavior, which is one of the reasons her friends are concerned about her.
Right.
So I thought that was really good.
Mm-hmm.
You brought up the lighting in the first three episodes.
The first three episodes, I feel like the lighting has just been spot on. Really, just kind of framing the scene by scene, just kind of helping us evoke what emotions Jessica's feeling, kind of just where, what we're supposed to be looking at, things are being lit up that we need to be paying attention to. So I just feel like that's very spot on as far as the technical stuff is concerned.
Yeah. And, the first episode was really good at both reminding us who we should remember from the first season and sort of giving us a very quick
sort of
rundown of where everybody is and what they're up to, while also getting the ball rolling on what's to come, which seems to be, at least 3 episodes in, exploring Jessica's past, how she got her powers, who's responsible, and why. So I thought that first episode really got that ball going well, like you said, introducing us to new characters and also
a great opening paragraph.
And then we moved into the second episode, which was called Freak Accident. That episode was really, again, just sort of digging in just a little bit deeper. That first episode started and set the table, and now the appetizers are sort of on the table, and we're digging into a little bit more about where everybody is. Trish is getting deeper into her investigation.
This IGH investigation.
Yes, and her new love interest seems to also be sort of prodding her on because he has an investigative background in the more standard news media side of things. So we're getting to know him, we're getting to know the relationship a little bit, getting to know how she's investigating this whole thing. We didn't mention in that first episode the Wizard, and I should have mentioned that.
Yeah, so he was played off as just like a kook, like Jessica just did not pay him any mind.
Among her clientele or potential clientele. And the Wizard, as soon as I heard that name, it struck a memory with me because the Wizard was a part of the All-Star Squadron and Marvel Comics. So this was all, actually it's pre-Marvel, timely comics. And the Wizard also played a part in Squadron Supreme, which was another sort of, it was basically Marvel's version of the Justice League set on an alternate Earth where they had to play with those tropes and archetypes. And so I knew that the Wizard was, in fact, a super fast character. I also knew that I had some memory of a mongoose being attached to him. So when we looked it up after the episode was over, it was, that character in the comics was given some sort of serum that was created from mongoose blood to counteract a venomous snake bite or something, and it ended up giving him super speed and whatnot. His father's name in the comics was Emil, which is what the mongoose was named in the show. So lots of little Easter egg things there
for people who know or want to look it up.
Yeah, and so that was really sort of his death was the thing that sort of compelled Jessica to dig into this investigation, despite the fact that she didn't seem to want to open up her past.
Yeah, it's a catalyst of some sort. It's not for her, but for him.
Right.
Supposedly. She wants to know. I think she wants to know.
Yeah, but like most traumatic things in our lives, sometimes we don't feel like we're ready to face them, and Jessica's certainly no different. She's a damaged person, but she has people around her that are prodding her on to sort of face the past so that she can better herself, and she's, a little hesitant to do so, and probably rightly so.
Yeah.
But so we dug in a little bit deeper to the investigation. We got to catch up with Jerry, the attorney, who we've seen across several of these Marvel shows, including Iron Fist.
Yep.
And we see that she has been diagnosed with some illness. We did not find out what it was in the second episode.
Until the end of episode 3.
Right. And so episode 2, we just see her basically going off the deep end. She's having some issues with whatever the news was that she was given.
So just kind of trying to lose herself in just being irresponsible, basically. Right. So she is doing that, and let's see what else. And then Malcolm, who is Jessica Jones's sometime assistant, even though she keeps firing him, he still keeps working for her, and so we see that he's helping out Trish. He's kind of
Jessica too.
Helping out Jessica for sure, but he also seems to have something else going on. So it's kind of I'm curious about that, just because we don't really know too much about him. He was just kind of there, sort of in the first season, to be someone that Jessica was to help.
And after the Wizard's death, we sort of got a little bit more with the new super, that Jessica wanted him to back her up with the police, and he did not do that. So brought up more questions about why he wouldn't do this, and so that continued down that path. And then the more Jessica begins to dig in on her side of things, the more Trish begins to dig in on her side of things, including meeting up with her mother, who we know is not a good person to reconnect with.
Yep.
They drove that point home, and in that one episode, it was so easy to be like, oh yes, I hate this person. That's right. I remember this character. Yeah.
Pretty much.
And then through her mother, she comes in contact with someone that apparently she worked for at some point in her past as an actress. Apparently, as an underage actress, had some not so great dealings with, which I thought was pretty timely, considering all the stuff in the media.
Yeah.
That this is not a stretch of the imagination to believe that sort of thing has gone on. So that confrontation happens, and then we see the familiar face. The one I know is Nuke, the boyfriend from last season. Simpson. Who again was part of some sort of super soldiery program.
Yeah.
That he was off the deep end in season 1. I think he was presumed dead, wasn't he, at the end of the season?
I thought so.
So we find out that he's been watching Trish and protecting Trish, and then whatever is after her, or after Jessica, or after both of them, gets a hold of Simpson and puts an end to him.
So we already are seeing some major developments happening just in these first 3 episodes. So definitely not a slow starter. You just, you definitely need to watch and pay attention.
Right.
But definitely interesting.
And then episode 3, Soul Survivor, is sort of the episode that we just finished watching, which was, centered around this doctor that supposedly, at least, was presumed by Jessica to be the one who had siphoned patients over to IGH as part of their IGH. I'm saying that right, correct?
No, you are. Yeah.
Okay.
It's IGH, but it's part of their whatever their research program-ish thing was, and also a familiar face if you've watched like old sitcoms and TV and possibly movies. She's been in a couple, hasn't she?
Who are we talking about?
Laurie Metcalf.
Oh, that wasn't Laurie Metcalf.
That wasn't Laurie Metcalf? Sure.
That was not Laurie Metcalf.
Sure, it reminded me of her. Am I wrong?
We can look it up.
Okay, we can look it up.
Yeah.
But anyway, she looked familiar.
Yeah, and I also thought she looked familiar from a distance, and I can see that.
Okay.
But I don't think that was Laurie Metcalf.
Okay.
However.
Her doppelganger.
However, she did bear a resemblance.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So then I don't know who you're talking about.
So basically we have Jessica set up Trish so that Trish can't go follow through.
Right. She wants to keep her friends safe.
With Dr. Hansen, right. And so Jessica goes to the meeting instead, and at that point while she's busy with that and trying to exert some influence on this Dr. Hansen to speak, to tell her something, Trish finds out from her buddy at the morgue, who we also met last season, that the body that they had previously found in an incinerator was Dr. Hansen.
So who's this?
Yeah, so who's this?
And who's this?
And on their way to go and try to help Jessica, Malcolm and Trish have to evade the paparazzi and everything. And Jessica finds out the hard way that the person that she's talking to is also very strong.
Very superpowered.
So much so that Jessica seems to have her hands full.
Yeah, she's actually meeting up with somebody who's just as strong as she is.
Now, whether that's because she was thrown by the fact that somebody was as strong as she was, or whether the woman just really seriously overpowers her, I don't know. It's hard to say from what little we've given.
I know, but I'm willing to bet that Jessica holds back quite a bit, so she probably was not expecting it. And I think if they were to go toe to toe again, I think we'd probably see a pretty even match.
Yeah, maybe so. But the Dr. Hansen, or whoever she really is, escapes. But Jessica does manage to get a photo from her, thanks to the paparazzi following Malcolm and Trish. So that works out well. So that's where that's where episode 3
just kind of ends up
of season 2 ends. So as we move into the next 3 episodes, I'm guessing we're going to find out a lot more about this Dr. Hansen person.
Totally.
And dig a little deeper into these investigations. I'm curious as to how things are connected. We know from just the talk around the internet that David Tennant is a part of this season.
I mean, we're looking at a page filled with episode titles and screen caps with him in there, so we know that he's supposed to be coming. But
so we don't know how far into the season. We don't know what kind of role he plays. Whether it's in a flashback or whether it's he's just in her mind. His power set is such that I thought at the end of the first season, when he was apparently killed, he could have just made them see himself as killed. Like, he could have just exerted some sort of influence over them and made him. So, I don't know what to expect, honestly.
Yeah, no, we were completely unspoiled for that.
I always, honestly, one of my pet peeves, we're big Marvel fans as far as the movies and the TV series go, but one of my pet peeves with Marvel is that they kill their good villains. It happens repeatedly. Now Loki has managed to slip through, but he's a god. He's an Asgardian god. So
yeah, and
that's one thing. But
he's very popular.
And he's very popular. That doesn't hurt, I'm sure. But they continue to, anytime they happen to hit upon a really good villain and introduce, they tend to kill them off. Now, thankfully, Fisk has not been killed off.
No, very exciting.
So that's good. We're very excited about him coming back in season 3 of Daredevil. But they do have a tendency to sort of kill them off, and so I'd be disappointed if we didn't get more David Tennant in coming seasons, even if he's just here in a flashback. I'd be disappointed if they didn't find a way to bring him back. I mean, in the comics, characters come back from the dead all the time. There's a million ways to make this happen. So I would love for them to give us, put him against the Defenders. Put him against a whole bunch of people. I mean, that could happen. Luke Cage, Daredevil, these guys have all had run-ins with Kilgrave before in the comics. So they could totally do something like that, and I would be all for it.
Yeah, I don't see them doing it, but I would watch it for sure. Yeah,
I think they tend to stay a little more grounded for these Netflix series, but they brought people back from the dead already. Anyway, so that's it for the first 3 episodes. That was AKA Start at the Beginning, AKA Freak Accident, and AKA Soul Survivor. The first 3 episodes of season 2 of Marvel's Jessica Jones on Netflix. Hopefully you've already watched those 3 episodes, or what were you doing watching this? Join us in watching the next 3, which are AKA God Help the Hobo, AKA The Octopus, and AKA FaceTime. And after we've watched those 3 episodes, we'll be back to tell you what we thought about those 3. Yep. And then we'll move on to the next one. The only one that'll be different will be that finale.
Yeah.
And we're going to just watch that finale and do a video strictly on the finale. So 3 episodes at a time until we hit that finale.
Yeah.
And then that 13th episode will get a video of its own.
Of its own, and maybe a recap of the season, just kind of how it all tied in together.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, watch Jessica Jones. If you like this video, click the thumbs up. Think about subscribing to the channel. It really helps us out. And if you are already subscribed, click the bell icon so that you can be notified the next time we have a video drop. Until the next time, make mine Marvel, and we'll see you later.
Thanks, everyone.